Welcome to InterPartyConflict, the podcast where we answer your questions so you can have the best tabletop gaming experience possible. My name is Gabe.
And my name is Jeff.
And we're going to answer your questions today. But first, I have a question. Jeff, how are you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good.
Cool.
I actually got a 3D printer.
Yes, you did. And you got a different kind than I have.
Right. I got one of the resin printers instead of the filament ones. It is a much smaller,
much smaller area to print in.
Right. Yeah. So like I can only really do small things, but I bought it because I wanted to make miniatures so I can paint them and practice painting miniatures because it's fun. I just don't find myself doing it as much anymore because they're so expensive that I'm like, I should really wait till a time I can work on this and, give it my all. Whereas like if I can just print off miniatures that I find online for basically free and print them off for, cents to a few dollars at most. And like, I don't feel so bad about, throwing a few, layers of paint on that and it looks terrible. I'm like, hey, I learned something.
Sure.
So I'm excited for it.
We were talking about this before we started recording just now, but I've been in a fight with my 3D printers for a long time, but I was saying that if I did want to print miniatures, like that was one of my primary things when I first got them, and if I had known, I probably would have gotten a resin printer instead of one of the printers I have. That being said, I do like the printers. I like the type of printers I have for what they can do. Right. I just need to focus more on those things instead of getting frustrated trying to print minis and not having it work. Yeah, you have a lot more options, and like the filament printers are much more practical. Sure. You can I look at things online of things to print, and I'm like, I'm looking for miniatures, but I'm also looking at other stuff. I'm like, oh, I really want to print that, but there's no feasible way to print that in the resin printer. Like a little like desk organizer thing. I'm like, that'd be really neat. I want that. Like a little organizers for my paints and my brushes and like a little stand thing for all my miniatures and stuff. But it's like, nope. Too big. Yeah, I guess like I printed a whole bunch of like board game aids, like particularly Betrayal at House on the Hill. I printed like so many little things to hold all the whatevers. And even the smallest of those like are probably still too big for you to print on yours. Like there's like the little peg pieces and stuff that I could do, obviously. And like I think the Betrayal, like the ones that hold like the character cards. Oh, okay. I think if I like turned it on an angle, I can maybe do like one or two at a time or something. That's a good point. But it's still very limited. And then resin is in just the material is a little bit more expensive too. So like the bigger things and like big bulky stuff is tough. Like even doing hollowed stuff. Yeah. You have to make sure there's a drainage hole because you're working with liquid resin. Yeah. So like there's a chance that you get like pieces like sloshing around in there. So you have to make sure there's like a drain hole and stuff. The resin's toxic. Like it's not safe. Like I have to wear, like I make sure I'm wearing a, gloves and some eyewear just in case some like splashes up in my eye or something like that. So like it's, and like you have to clean up all this nasty toxic resin. Sure. Pretty much between every single print if you want to make sure everything works right. So anyway. Well, I'm sure I will have you print some minis for me whenever, whenever you have time. Yeah. Yeah. Well, we could do that. We could do that line of Ichi minis that we can give out to like patrons or something. We could. I don't remember how much that actually made it on the air or not. We had. I don't know how to explain how this started. With the Where's Ichi thing. We had somebody email us. If you are listening, I don't recall your name offhand, but thumbs up to you. Somebody email us, and they ended their email with like. It was like, hey, how's Ichi doing? Or something. Yeah, or it's like, hey, I saw Ichi at this one place. That's what it was. It was like, I saw Ichi. How's Jeff doing? Right, yeah. And that was like the whole email. And we thought it was so funny that... Yeah. Oh, it was Ichi showed up and asked me how Jeff was doing or something like that. Like, you just, made a couple references. Something kind of bizarre. Right. Just out of nowhere. It was sort of, we were like, you know what? That might be we thought it would be a funny way to turn that into like... we could give people minis of Ichi and have them take pictures of him in weird places or something. Yeah, I should have taken one and taken a picture in Alaska.
Oh yeah, exactly. So we think maybe we'll give out some Ichi miniatures that you can take pictures in different locations, like do like a hashtag where's Ichi.
We'll try to hashtag where's Ichi is pretty good. We'll give you more information as as more information becomes available.
Right. Yep. Stay tuned.
Yeah. All right. You want to go ahead and get into this episode, Jeff?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I want you to imagine you've come home from a long day at work, and you're in this. You have a wife and a kid in this scenario.
Okay.
So you come home from a long day at work, and your wife informs you have to have a serious talk with your son regarding what she found under his bed.
Oh man.
He's about that age where boys start to become men. You've been working late and you haven't really noticed how much he's grown in the last few months. But you have noticed that his skin is getting kind of rough.
Right.
Kind of, you think maybe he has like a skin condition or something. His tail is particularly noticeable.
Ah, yes. Going through the changes.
Yes. So you try to talk to him and it's a bit embarrassing for him and he denies having anything he's not supposed to under his bed.
Sure.
No, he doesn't have anything to do with that. However, he is clearly lying because you know what's under his bed, Jeff?
What's under there?
The dragon's hoard. Now, maybe it's obvious, maybe it's not. I would never come up with such an intro myself. But this one was submitted by Nicholas G via email. I think this is the first time Nicholas G has ever submitted anything.
I like this one. I like this one.
Okay, this one was actually submitted a very long time ago. So we've gotten a bunch of these, and sometimes I use them, sometimes I don't.
Right.
So, anyway. So thank you, Nicholas G, for that introduction to the Dragon's Hoard. This item, however, was submitted by Danny C, also via email. And I thought this was a really interesting item. He uses some mechanics that I think are quite interesting. This item is the Gauntlet of Esther. It is a wondrous item, requires attunement. The Gauntlet of Esther is a mysterious item that's power seems to stem from the ancient rune etched into its leather surface. The rune, depicting that of a spider, grants the wearer the ability to toy with life and death, much like Esther, the goddess of trickery and magic herself. Once per week, the wearer of this gauntlet will be granted the ability to perform the spell Power Word Kill on any creature within a range of 30 feet the wearer can see. For anybody who's not familiar, Power Word Kill is you target a creature, you speak one word, there's only a verbal component, there's not a somatic component. If they have less than 50 hit points, they die. No save, they're just dead. So you look at them, you say a word, dead. Above 50 hit points, nothing happens.
Right.
No, absolutely nothing. Wasted spell, but just dead. Now, this item, however, is a little bit different. This does allow a save. The creature chosen by the wearer must make a DC 15 Wisdom save or fall dead.
Okay.
I'll have some thoughts about that in a minute, but we'll go on. Once the spell has been cast, the wearer must then roll a d20. If this is the first time the gauntlet has been used, the roll just has to be a 10 or higher. If you roll a 10 or higher, nothing happens. However, if the wearer rolls below 10, a friendly NPC that the wearer cares for also dies.
What?
This could be somebody from their backstory or somebody they met mid-campaign. It's up to the DM. You might even, you could even theoretically have it be another PC. DM's choice, use your best judgment. Don't don't abuse that or anything. So the first time you use it, a DC 10 or someone dies. The next time they use it, it's a 13. Then a 15. Then an 18. And then the fifth time and beyond, no roll.
It's just someone else.
Anytime you use it, two people die, the person you're using it on, and the other person that the DM chooses on their own. And then there's a note here. The way in which the friendly NPC is chosen is normally through the wearer giving the DM a list of 6 NPCs or PCs that the character cares for upon attuning to the item. If the wearer fails their last roll, then the DM will roll a d6 to determine who pays the price. So I think this is really interesting.
Yeah.
I really like the idea of a powerful mechanic having story implications.
Sure.
I really, really like that.
Yeah. This makes me think of the show Pushing Daisies.
Okay.
I don't know what network it was on.
I know of it, but I know what the show was about. I haven't seen it, though.
I think it only went for like a season or something like that. Mm-hmm. But anyway, like the character that basically had the ability to, so like if somebody died, he could touch them and bring them back to life.
Mm-hmm.
But if he didn't touch them to put them dead again, within a minute, somebody else died. Something or somebody else died. And there was no way to know who it was going to be or where they were going to be.
Yeah.
You know, so like he would touch somebody, bring them to life. And basically the show was he had a cop buddy.
So you'd find out who killed them.
Right. So like he had a minute to ask questions to figure out who killed them or something like that. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times they didn't know. It's like, oh, I got stabbed in the back. I don't know. You know, whatever. So, but you have to, you know, they were like, all right, we got a minute. Let's go ask some questions real quick. And usually they're like, wait, I'm dead? You know, like wasting time and stuff.
You have a list of things to tell them. Yes, you are dead.
Yes.
No, this is not the afterlife. So on and so on.
Yeah, and like in the show, there's like he brings back a pretty girl, and he's like, but no, you know, like he doesn't want to make her dead again. Or no, I think she sees that opportunity and runs away, basically.
Oh, okay.
And so like it goes beyond the minute, and like somebody died. He doesn't know who.
Isn't it that like if he ever touches her again, she will die? So like they have like a plastic sheet between them or something.
Right. Yeah. So they do end up in a relationship, and in the case like they, it's like there's this plastic divider in their bedroom, and I think he's even got one of those like he says like an arm hole in it so he can like cuddle. You know, so he's got like a plastic glove like
that's pretty good.
Like he's seeing like. And like science laboratories and stuff where, you know,
pick up hazardous materials.
Right, exactly. So it kind of reminds me of that where like, you know, you got this powerful ability to kill, in this case, kill somebody, but then it could also kill somebody else, you know.
Yeah. There was also there was a TV show called Warehouse 13, which I think was on around the same time, where I mean it's not really worth getting into. It's kind of like the Lost Room. There's just these objects that have supernatural powers, but they're all like historical bases, like Tesla's whatchamacallit, or Marconi's device that, you know, is like a video walkie-talkie from 200 years ago or whatever. I'm probably getting all these details wrong, but anyway, it's about just all these like historical objects that have supernatural powers, and one of them I think in the season finale of the first season, like somebody dies, but they end up being brought back to life by this thing that it brings someone back to life, but kills someone else in return. That's what you see a lot of the time, is you can bring someone back at the cost of somebody else dying.
Right. Yeah.
This is kind of quite a bit darker. You're not bringing anybody back. You're like, I can kill this person.
Yeah.
But it's going to kill someone that I care about as well.
Right. Yeah. Which makes me think adding a DC to the attack.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, because does that mean that you have a chance to fail at killing, but then you also still have a chance to kill something? Like, you can end up killing your friend, but nobody else.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and talk about this now. Just a tip to anybody out there who is planning on using Power Word Kill: do not give Power Word Kill a save. Defeats the entire purpose of the spell.
Yeah.
It is a 9th level spell for a reason. It's the absolute highest level of magic that you can currently use in D&D. It is supposed to be incredibly powerful. Also, if they have 51 hit points, you've just wasted your highest level spell slot. You get like 2 of those a day at max level. 9th level spells should feel campaign changing.
Yeah.
And if its only purpose is to kill someone, it should feel powerful. Giving it a save, if you give it a save, then what you've done is you've basically made a single person fireball that does maximum 50 damage. And okay, but that's not a 9th level spell. I got into an argument with someone online a while ago because he was saying, I think Power Word Kill is way too powerful. Yeah, I give it a save. And I was like, okay, well, compare it to Disintegrate, which also has a save and does like 3 times as much damage, and it's 2 levels lower.
Right.
So you better be reducing its level and or giving it all of these other things too. It does not work as a spell if it has a save. That's the whole point of the spell.
Yeah, I see that.
Also, in this particular instance, and I'm not saying that Danny C did anything wrong.
Right.
They probably just never used power word kill. To be perfectly honest,
Right.
I've never used it. I never use it because I don't want to kill someone without a save.
Sure.
But I understand that's the purpose of the spell.
Yeah, and plus the idea of having a magical item that gives you the ability to use a 9th level spell, like
Yeah.
it begs for some sort of balancing.
Right.
So like I see where he's coming from.
But in my opinion, the balancing is the fact that someone is very likely going to die.
Right.
If once per week you can just automatically deal 50 points of damage to someone, but it might kill your friend.
Yeah.
That's enough balance right there.
Like I feel like
It's actually 100, not 50. Whoops, my bad.
almost no one would ever use it.
I know.
Like you just wouldn't use it.
Right.
You know, so it's like you might find a way to use it. You're like, oh,
This
have
is like-
to stop this guy, otherwise everyone dies.
Exactly. This is like you save it for the final battle of the campaign or something.
Right, yeah. It's like, you know, I have to kill this guy.
Yeah.
If I don't do it in this one action, we're all doomed. Well, all right, let's roll the dice.
Yeah.
And then like, oh, Jimmy died.
Literally.
Oh, not Jim. Oh.
So it is a very, very powerful spell, as it should be.
Mm-hmm.
Like, again, 9th level spell, and if they have 1 hit point above the limit, you've just wasted a 9th level spell, and it's 1 target. You could cast Meteor Swarm, same level,
Right.
guaranteed deal. If you hit a bunch of people, guarantee you did twice as much damage spread out over a bunch of people, even if they all made their save. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's 1 target. It's a 9th level spell. So
Yeah.
don't try not to make power word kill less power. It's nasty because it's supposed to be nasty.
Right. Yeah.
But I love the drawback here. I love that it's not just some random person is going to die. It is specifically someone that you know and care
like,
about.
yeah, it's
I would actually, because there's the note saying like the player can give the DM a list of NPCs or whatever. I say don't do that.
Right.
Don't let the player have a pretty good idea of who's going to die.
right. Yeah. Like, because then the player might specifically, just, say like,
I mean, I don't know if they're going to game the system
right.
or not,
Yeah.
but
it's like, yeah. Here's a list of people. Well, you hate this guy. No, he's my best friend. What are you talking
right.
about? You put in this list the bad guy. The third name is a mind flayer. Come on.
you haven't even met him. You just know that he's the bad guy on the whatever.
Yeah, right. You only know his name because you saw the adventure packet.
Right. So I would say, like, just you as the DM, you have the best idea of who is going to make the biggest emotional impact on the players. Mm-hmm. Like, when I was playing as my character Ichi, there was a point he had a follower that one of our earliest adventures, we were just going through some small hamlet. We stopped there for the night, and there was this guy. His name was Donovan. He saw we were adventurers, and he saw I was like the biggest and seemingly the biggest and strongest of them. And he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna go with you. I want to be an adventurer too. I'll just be your sidekick." And he like had like a little bindle that he brought with him.
Right.
And he only really came into play he only was there for like role playing and everything a few times. Mm-hmm. But when there was a time that I've said many times where I started a war, right before I started the war, I was going somewhere with Donovan, and Donovan seemingly got killed.
Oh.
And like, it made such a bigger impact on me than I expected it to, because Donovan, like, yes, he's just an NPC, but like, he's been with me for like this entire campaign.
Right.
And he didn't know what he was getting into. He's just a normal dude. I'm the adventurer. He's got the NPC class levels. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it might even be something that will change from moment to moment. They might have just met a character, but they have so much riding on that character, or that character has so much riding on them, that it might make a bigger emotional impact to have that character die. Mm-hmm. So, DMs, I guess, keep that in mind. Try to use your best judgment on this. But I think that not even letting the player think that they have any control over who's going to die.
Right.
And
don't give it to a character that's like evil or something.
Well,
it's like, well, yeah, I care about him. I like myself better dead.
Well, but then maybe the person that dies is the person that was going to pay them all the money for, completing this quest or whatever.
Sure.
Hit them where it hurts.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Good point.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, I mean, we spent a lot of time on this item, but I think this is a deceptively interesting item. I really, really like this item. I really like the idea of that mechanic. Once again, I would say get rid of the save and then maybe even not have the player make the list of people. I think it's really cool. I love things that have such a distinct cost.
Right, yeah. Like, magic items are cool, and powerful magic items are really cool, but, like, the ones that have big consequences, like, those are awesome.
Those are the ones that are the most interesting, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I'm curious, do you tell the PC that it might kill someone?
I don't know.
Yeah.
But maybe the first time they use it, and then you're like, okay, roll a die.
Yeah.
And then if gets a 10 above or not, give them some sort of hint as to like you feel the glove pull at somebody's like life string.
Yeah.
But then it slips away.
Sure.
So it's like, oh, okay, did I maybe almost just kill somebody? What just happened?
And maybe even tell them who it was. Like you suddenly felt like you were holding the soul of your brother in your hand, and you have the urge to crush it, but you don't.
Yeah, it's just like give them drop little hints. It's like, you smell your mother's hair or something like that. You know, like when you're like, what? Why am I smelling my mother's hair? It's like, and it suddenly turns to a smell of ash or something.
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
What happened?
Now, and then I hate to. I don't want to spend the whole episode on this item. I don't mind because I think there's really interesting stuff here. What if there was an opposite item that you can bring someone back from the dead?
Oh, but bring somebody you hate?
But bring back someone. I was gonna say someone that you've killed.
Sure.
Or something. You
know?
know?
Yeah.
That's a bit harder to.
Okay. Yeah.
Because just bringing back from the dead a bad guy doesn't necessarily mean it's going to affect you.
Right.
But
well, I mean, like it could bring back the bad guy, but then it gives that bad guy the means to come after you immediately or something like that. You know, like it.
It would need a bit more work to make it.
Sure.
To make it work.
Sure.
But,
yeah.
But yeah, something that is the opposite of that.
Yeah, that's interesting.
But I love this item. So Danny C, double thumbs up for me.
Good
Gauntlet
job.
of Esther. Yeah. Great item.
Yeah.
So yeah, really, really cool. So yeah, that was the Gauntlet of Esther. Jeff, if anybody wanted to submit magic items for the Dragon's Horde, or if they wanted to submit questions for us to discuss, or stories for the funeral pyre, how would they get those to us?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com or join us on our Interparty Discord at bit.ly/interpartydiscord.
That's correct. And then before we go any further, we do have a giveaway this week.
Gasp.
So we are giving away a copy of Chapel on the Cliffs, which is a great adventure from Goblinstone. It's a low-level 5th edition adventure. And Jeff, did you ever finish running the adventure, or did you just run most of it?
We haven't finished it.
Okay.
We've gotten pretty close to the end, though.
Cool.
It's just, we haven't had, the time, so.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a cool adventure with some spookilies and some dookilies.
Yep, some spooky bing bongs.
There you go.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a great adventure, and Goblinstone is a great group of content creators, and they've given us these copies to give away. So, Jeff, this week, who is our winner of this great adventure?
Our winner this week is Dustin F.
Whoa, winner.
Gobble, gobble, gobble. Yes, congratulations, Dustin F. You should be getting that in your email pretty soon. If you don't, be sure to let us know. And of course, be sure to check your spam folder. And leave Goblinstone a review because, like I said, I think it's a great adventure. And I'm sure they do too. But if you have anything that you don't like about it or that you do, let them know. And they can use that to make future products better. And Jeff, if anybody wanted to enter this drawing, if they would also like to win a copy like Dustin here did, how would they enter the drawing and do so?
They could send us an email at interpartyconflict@gmail.com with Chapel on the Cliffs in the subject line.
Yes, that is correct. And we also have our Patreon that I'd like to tell you about. I want to thank all of our patrons for making everything happen, We've got some great support from a lot of people on there. Patreon is an online platform that you can pledge to donate some money to your favorite content creator. And you can pledge $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month to us. And we've got outtakes. We've got some fantasy fiction that I've written that I'm recording and putting out in audio format.
Cool.
Hopefully by the time this episode goes out, I'll have one of those.
Nice.
I was hoping to get it out before I went out of town, but that did not happen. I'm about like 90% done, and I wasn't able to get it out by then. Hopefully it's out by now.
Cool.
And then we've also got a monthly bonus podcast for our patrons. I think we are also coming out within one of those around the time this episode goes out. And we've also got a monthly Roll20 game. I'm going to try to schedule that pretty soon because I'm excited to keep on exploring Lampslight Sanitarium.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've got some really cool stuff on there. Go ahead and check out our Patreon at patreon.com/InterPartyConflict. See if any of the rewards appeal to you. If they do, you can help out the show and get some cool stuff in return. And then just one last thing, check out the other podcasts on the Crit Nation Fellowship. Check out Crit Academy at critacademy.com. Justin, Ian, and Brandon create new and reusable content for players and DMs alike. Brute Force and Ignorance is an actual play podcast that started a new arc a few months ago, and it's been a lot of fun so far. And then, of course, check out D&D Character Lab. They're not making any more episodes, but their episodes are still there. So check out their show. They, Garen and Dan made characters every week and debated whose characters were better. So check out those podcasts. A lot of great stuff. Enough with all the plugs. Let's get to some questions.
Our first question comes from Nathan H. on email, and they ask, how do you go about making one or more players a chosen one in your story without making the other players feel less important?
Yeah, and Nathan had a little bit more of a, I think the question originally was a bit longer, and I shortened it down, but Nathan said it was a lengthy preamble to really the crux of it. In general, can you choose one or two PCs of the party to fulfill some sort of a prophecy or destiny, creating a more cinematic story without upsetting the whole table? Do you think a typical D&D player would enjoy filling the role of a Han Solo or Sokka, whoever that is, instead of every player having to be a Luke Skywalker or an Avatar Aang?
Sure.
So I think let's get to that part first. Do you think it would be fun playing a game of D&D where one player is Luke Skywalker and you are Han Solo?
The way I play now, I wouldn't mind it. Like, I'd be like, okay, cool. Like, it's like I could fill that role. Like, I could figure that out. Like, I don't mind, playing that character because I can kind of have fun with it. You know, like, I feel like, thinking about Han Solo and Luke Skywalker. Han Solo, you can be like, you can make fun of him. It's just a kid. Like, it was like, who's this punk kid think he is? And like, you can give him a hard time about it, tease him, and you can still have fun with it and like steal the show plenty of times. Yeah. But like, just because they're the chosen one doesn't make them better. It just makes a lot more things about them. Sure. So you can still be the best one in the group. You could still be the star of the show, but as far as like the plot and where it goes, like it hangs on this, this person's character. Yeah. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you can't like make the game more about you, I guess. I mean, you don't want to steal the show if you don't want to hog the spotlight too much, but yeah, like I'm just saying, like it doesn't tie you down into being a B-list character or anything like that.
So, I think that I've got a lot to say about this, and I think that generally speaking, this is only a problem if you do a poor job getting it across to the players. I think it's real interesting that the example that Nathan gave, or one of the examples rather, because I don't know who Sokka is, but is Han Solo versus Luke Skywalker. Because I don't know if I've ever heard a single person be like, oh, I want to be Luke Skywalker. Like, yes, Luke Skywalker is quote unquote the chosen one, or like the main character,
right?
Quote unquote.
Yeah.
But all I ever hear is people being like, I want to be Han Solo.
Yeah, because Han Solo's the coolest.
Han Solo's the coolest, exactly.
Right.
I feel like in every case, the ones that are like the chosen one are the least interesting.
Right. Yeah, because a lot of times it's like, oh, it is somebody who is kind of lame and some stuff just sort of happened to them. Yeah. Or, like that doesn't necessarily mean that they're they have more abilities or something like that. I mean, like Luke Skywalker, yeah, he becomes a Jedi, so that's
sure. I mean, it is cool to be a Jedi. It's cool to be a Force user, but the chosen one, is stuck in what they have to do,
Right,
for better and for worse.
Yeah, you're chosen to do this specific thing, and so you're kind of like, well, all right, I got to do this, I guess.
Yeah.
And like you have most of the burden. You're like, you got all this stuff is riding on you, so you get a lot of extra pressure. So like you like there's less you can do, and everything's riding on you. You might not have what it takes. I don't know.
Sure. This isn't directly related, but I think it's a funny anecdote, so I will share it. So I did a lot of musical theater when I was in high school. And in musical theater, generally speaking, there is a romantic lead, like a male and female romantic lead, and then a male and female comedic lead.
Okay.
So I'll use the example Guys and Dolls, because I did that. I was in that play when I was a senior in high school. It was the last one I did in high school. So you've got the romantic lead of Sky Masterson and the male lead, and the romantic female lead of Sarah Brown. Those two are pretty like they really kind of just have one thing. It's like, hey, emotion. Then you've got Nathan Detroit, who is the male comedic lead, and then his fiance Adelaide, who's the comedic female lead. And I was when I got into college, I had just been in Guys and Dolls, and I was talking to one of the other guys in the choir that I was in. And the other guy was saying, oh yeah, he was in Guys and Dolls. And he said, oh yeah, man, I would never want to be the romantic lead because they don't have any room to go anywhere. I would always want to be the comedic lead. And I remember being like, haha, yeah, gosh, me too. And I'm like, I have never been given that choice before. And I would take whatever I was given because whatever. I've never been in a position where that was up to me or either of those was on the table. But looking back now, I can see it kind of applies to being a chosen one or not being a chosen one. If you're being a chosen one, you can't really goof around. I mean, I guess you can, depending on what it is you're doing. But story-wise, as far as the story is concerned, you have a thing you have to do, and you're gonna go do it. Depending on how good the DM is at creating, a character arc and such, there might be a point where you refuse the call, and then whatever, and so on and so on.
Sure.
But generally speaking, everybody's expecting you to do a thing. Whereas the other characters, they can do whatever they want. Even if it is helping you do, ostensibly it's helping you do your thing.
Right.
It's only the Luke Skywalker show if Han Solo doesn't put in his A game.
Yeah.
If Han Solo is being Han Solo, it's going to be the Han Solo show. Watch the Han Solo show where Han Solo helps Luke Skywalker do his thing.
Right.
So it's really all a matter of how much the DM focuses on it's about this one character and how much the other players let it to be about that one character. There is, so I've mentioned it several times, but in the Adventure Zone Amnesty, I think they just had their final episode. It is like modern fantasy type thing. One of the characters is stat-wise the chosen one.
Like, sure.
It is in the book. It is the chosen one. He has like special abilities like Buffy the Vampire Slayer. He's like really strong, really resilient, bunch of whatever. But the game is not about his character. Yes, he has a role to play, but all the characters have a role to play. He's the chosen one in name only, really. I mean, like, I guess if you really get into it, sure, you could make more of a case for it, but I've never felt like that character was more important to the game than anybody else.
Yeah.
It's all a matter of how much the players take the prompts they're given, how much the DM gives them their prompts. So it kind of requires work from everybody to make sure it doesn't, because it probably could fall into that really easily. If one player is the chosen one, then yeah, I guess it could be easy for the players to be like, oh, okay, well, I guess I'll just help Luke Skywalker do his thing.
Yeah, do whatever he's doing.
Right, but as long as you don't make it explicitly they are the chosen one, they are going to do what they do, every adventure has a chosen one. If you're, let's say you have 3 adventures. The first one, we're looking for somebody from your hometown has gone missing. You're the chosen one for that adventure. The next adventure, player number 2 got hired to go do something and they have to get the rest of the party on board. Okay, they are the chosen one for that one. And then for the third one, player 3 is, I don't know, has a prophecy. I don't know what the heck. It's, the chosen one is just whoever is like the hook for the adventure.
Yeah.
And it could be that they are literally a chosen one. It could be that one of the players is hogging the spotlight, but only if the rest of the players let them, and only if the DM facilitates that.
Right. Yeah. Because I think one of the things is like the chosen one is usually the one to like get all the fancy weapons and powers and stuff like that. Like, oh, this sword is destined to the chosen one. So like, oh, the chosen one gets the cool sword. Okay, cool. Yeah. Even though my character is all about swords and, you know.
I mean, if that happens, because I'm sure that happens.
Yeah.
I think that's maybe a matter of the DM not quite prioritizing things right. If the DM does be like, oh yeah, here's a thing only the chosen one can use. Here's another thing only the chosen one can use.
Yeah.
That's a problem, but it's also a problem when they're not the chosen one, when it's just, oh, the wizard got a cool spell book and a cool cloak and a cool staff.
Yeah.
Okay, it's the wizard party, this adventure. You know, that happens in every game. So, you know, just try to spread it out.
Right, yeah.
I think as long as everybody is trying not to make it all about the chosen one, it won't be. You know.
I mean, I guess unless everybody wants that, it's just sort of like,
I mean, if they do,
it's just like, let's put all of our eggs in this basket, and maybe that'll like help us through the campaign better. I don't know.
Sure. I just think that because tabletop role playing is such a group thing, I think there are so many opportunities for it to not be that way.
Sure.
Like, I mean, just if you're the person running the game and you're concerned that it's becoming too much about the chosen one, just have a little side quest about somebody else. Maybe that side quest will blow up and become really big. And then, well, nobody really cares about the chosen one thing. We'll get to that later. Let's go, you know, investigate the spooky mansion up on the hill or whatever.
Right.
You know, or heck, have everyone turn out to be a chosen one. I kind of did that in the Age of Worms.
Sure.
There's a point in the adventure path near the end where there's supposed to be, I think it's supposed to be that one of the players, it turns out they're like a descendant of something or whatever. And when I did it, I just had there be like, spread that out so the quote unquote prophecy involved all three of you.
Sure.
And then when you got there, you saw how all three of you were in some way descended from this thing.
Gotcha.
And it really could be that simple.
Yeah.
Just have the prophecy have a couple more people in it.
Right. Yeah.
You know,
and it doesn't have to be like, you could still have somebody be like sort of like the head chosen one if you want, but like everybody's got their role to play, you know, in the prophecy or something.
Sure. Link can't beat Ganon unless Zelda uses her thing to empower him or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Similarly, Zelda can't do it unless Link is there with the Master Sword.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. The Legend of Zelda is like it's all about it's the Triforce and like the connection that, you know, each
these three beings have.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So there's like, I mean, like they've only within the last like decade or whatever. I mean, wow, Zelda's been around for a while.
Yeah.
You know, in the last
30 years.
Yeah. In the last decade, they started actually like tying all the games together in like some sort of timeline thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's people who hate it and don't anyway.
Right.
But like the idea is like, okay, there's Ganon and he got access to the Triforce of Power. And then, so now the Triforce of Wisdom and Courage get passed down to, you know, passed down the royal line to through the Zeldas.
Through Zelda, and then like the
Courage one just like finds a hero somewhere, you know, and it happens to be named Link.
Right, and he always looks the same. He's always left-handed. But so really, it's just kind of a matter of how you spread the focus. Like we've talked in the past about how to stop one player from hogging spotlight, how to get everybody involved. And it's all really kind of the same thing, except I think it's a bit easier because it's less dependent on what happens at the table and is more about how you've prepared it to happen beforehand.
Yeah.
Of course, when you're at the table, the player who hogs a spotlight might hog the spotlight, but they're going to do that whether they're the chosen one or not. So if you are afraid of that, then the person who hogs the spotlight, make them not the chosen one. So then the chosen one has a bit more clout to take the spotlight.
Yeah. And I mean, that person's still going to go for the spotlight.
Sure.
And no matter what, but, you know, but it might be more interesting now because it's like, oh, they're fighting for the spotlight, not because that's the way they play the game.
Right.
Not just because that's the way they play the game, but also because like the story kind of like, it kind of feeds into it.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, what? He's the chosen one? No, come on. I'm cool too.
Just unless it's your goal to treat the other players as inferior, just don't treat the other players as inferior.
Right.
Treat everybody like they are, like their characters are just as integral. Again, unless that is the point. It could be funny if the party strolls up in town and they're like, oh my goodness, it's the chosen one. Oh, and whoever these other people are. But then the other ones are like, we killed the dragon. No. The chosen one is here.
Yeah.
I'm not listening to you.
Yeah.
Come, chosen one. Tell us about how you slayed the dragon.
Yeah, it's good for a gag at the very least, Like, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I just think that as long as you're aware that you don't want it to be just about this one person, then it won't be.
Yeah. Our next question comes from Peace Joy Pancakes on Discord. I was wondering if you had any experience with visions, divinations, etc., either as a DM or a player. What makes them fun or interesting instead of the DM giving too much or too little info away?
Yeah, so kind of related in that it's prophecy and visions and such like that. And we've talked about visions and like dreams and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Generally speaking, I don't think that I enjoy visions and divination to be as ambiguous as possible.
Sure.
I prefer when they are not, it's not that they're not set in stone. Maybe they're not set in stone, but I like when they are mutable, when you can change them. It doesn't really work in a tabletop game when everything that you said in the prophecy has to happen.
Sure.
Like, even if you try to avoid it, it's going to happen anyway. That's really hard to do when the players have agency. So the whole question of free will is, well, if I choose to do this other thing, then what? Did I have free will or whatever, or predestination rather?
Yeah.
The thing about predestination is that, like, well, if I know I'm supposed to go left, I'll just go right.
Right.
Yeah. I like it better when the prophecy is, if you do this, this other thing will happen, and then, the players can try it. They know one possible path, one possible outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And then they know, okay, well, then let's just do what we can to avoid that.
Yeah. I forget the name of the spell, but it's basically Magic 8-Ball.
Augury.
Augury, yeah. That's, yeah. In the Chapel on the Cliffs adventure, the players can gain access to Augury pretty easily. And, like, so it's like, it's written in the adventure, but it's very much just, it's Magic 8-Ball. It's like, okay, we're going to do this thing. And it's like, if it's something that is going to occur within the next 30 minutes, it'll say if it's a good outcome or a bad outcome, or it might say both, or it might say nothing.
Yeah.
Like, it's okay. So, like, well, yeah, what do we do if we go into the room with the bad guy? Well, it could be a good outcome because you might you might beat the bad guy.
Yeah.
But it's also a bad outcome because there's something nasty in there. Like, so, like, it's like, well, it's good and bad. It's like, okay, what about this other thing we're going to do? It's like, well, it's good because there's treasure there, but it's bad because there's traps. Like, so it's good and bad. Like,
Augury is actually, I think, a really good example because I think it is best to keep in mind that even in divinations, whatever you're doing, a sentient being is giving you that information.
Okay. And
sentient beings all have preconceived notions and biases.
Sure.
With Augury, in the description of the spell, it says, if there are two paths, one is more dangerous but has a bigger reward, it will consider that good.
Sure.
Compared to one that is less dangerous but has less of a reward.
Okay.
So that tells you that whatever intelligence is giving you this divination, it has its own preferences. So if you just try to keep in mind whatever divinations or what visions that are being given to the players, try and think in your head who exactly, whether it is an NPC, a deity, or even just like magic in general, whatever. Try to have in your mind as the person running the game who that person is. It doesn't have to be an actual person, but just like, if this is an actual entity that is giving this vision, they are going to focus on certain things. They might get things wrong.
Sure.
So think of a vision as, I saw something and I'm describing it to Jeff.
Yeah.
Jeff is the one who actually needs the vision. I'm going to describe the details that I think were important.
Right. Yeah.
I might have, so I say, Jeff, you see a vision of a man lifting up a bloody knife and then he dives into a closet. well, maybe I didn't notice that he actually had, maybe the dagger was actually like something, it wasn't a dagger, it was something else. But I don't tell you that because I just saw it as a dagger. It was actually like a pane of glass or something.
Yeah.
Like a shard of glass that he broke from a window. And then maybe some of the details end up a little bit wrong. Maybe it's not a closet that he was going into, but I thought it was a closet. So I said it was a closet. It actually turns out it's like a door to a cathedral or something. The details can change, and they can change to fit however the story ends up going. I guess what I'm trying to say is that none of this needs to be 100% accurate. In fact, I think it's the less accurate it is, the better.
Sure.
Maybe not 0% accurate, but I think the best prophecies are the ones where you're like, I guess that did come true, didn't it?
Yeah, sure.
You know.
Right, yeah. It's you do kind of have to be sort of like creative and good on your good quick thinking on your feet.
Yeah.
Like if you give a prophecy, but then because the players have agency, they can sort of change things out. You go like, but the prophecy did actually happen if you think about it. But you don't want to stretch it too much.
I guess. That's why I think it should be that like some prophecies just might not come true.
Sure.
Some visions just might not come true. Mm-hmm. You might be able to change things because I think it does take away player agency when, it's going to happen somehow.
Yeah.
You know, that can work, but not always. I would even say if you're going to give a vision, throw out a whole bunch of superfluous details.
Right.
You don't know what purpose they're going to serve. So like you see the sun has 6 children, and then one of them is red, one of them is green, one of them is blue, one of them is yellow, and then 12 rainbows fly past them or whatever. I don't know what the heck any of these things are. I know that there's like the big bad, and that's the sun, and then he's got like 6 nations or whatever, but the rainbow, I don't know what the heck the rainbows are. I'll figure out what the rainbows are later. And then so again, as the game goes on, as the players do things that you weren't prepared for, you can be like, ooh, well, this is a rainbow right there. That's what that is.
Right. Yeah. Because you could throw in some sort of multicolored something later on.
Sure.
And they would go like, that might be the rainbow that the prophecy spoke of. And meanwhile, it's just like somebody was just casting prismatic ray or whatever the heck it's called.
And then as the players start speculating,
yeah,
that's when you figure out what it actually means.
Right. Yeah. So like when the players give you the ideas.
Yes.
In a lot of cases.
You use what they were speculating, or you're like, well, it can't be any of those. So what is it?
Right. Yeah. Although I have a thing against writing like that.
I know. Some people do that. Like if I heard like I think it was Westworld. I think the writer like would after the first season would specifically look at what people were discussing and then do the opposite.
Yeah, when people were coming up with theories on shows and stuff like that, and because the way things are written. And like because of like streaming services, so everything's binge watched and stuff like that.
Within a week, they already know what like the prevalent fan theories are.
Exactly. So they're like, oh, okay. Well, we haven't finished writing the next season yet because it comes out next year. We're just going to change this all over, even though it's not going to make any sense and people are going to get mad. And the way that that theory is so much better than anything we were going to come up with. Dang it.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean It's different with a D&D adventure and stuff like that's a little bit different.
As far as the second half of this question, it's like what makes them fun or interesting instead of the DM giving too much or too little info away. One thing that I'm really having to come to terms with is that like don't worry about giving out too much information. I mean, unless you're overloading the players, like don't try and keep too much a secret.
Yeah.
If your concern is like, oh, I don't want to spoil this, it's probably not as big of a problem as you think, because I'm horrible about that.
Yeah.
I am terrible about like I don't give out enough information in my writing because I want it to be a secret, but nobody's going to get to that part. Nobody's going to figure out the secret because nobody's going to be interested because I didn't tell them anything.
Yeah. There was a couple times running Chapel on the Cliffs where like I said a thing, I was like, oh shoot, I wasn't supposed to say that at all. Whatever. I felt like, oh my God, I did the worst thing possible.
Right.
I gave them the information. But I mean, it didn't, I don't know. It's not like they didn't necessarily solve the problem any faster. It wasn't any less, I don't think it was any less fun for them or anything. But it was like, oh shoot, the packet told me not to say this thing and I said the thing. Well, whatever. The worst thing that it did was it made them go to this one area instead of checking this other area first. So it's like, oh, okay, there's less content that they're going to be exposed to. That's kind of sad because, there's some cool stuff over there, but whatever, we're on an adventure.
Yeah.
It's not, we're not going to get through every single page. That's not how the game works.
Sure. Absolutely. And I would say, like, so if you're going to be using a vision or a divination or something like that to entice the players into continuing on, whether you're giving them too much or too little information, I would say make sure that the end goal is always in sight. So, I don't know, let's say the vision is that the players are going to like overthrow this warlord or something like that. Even if you're only going to give them a little bit of information, like you give them a vision, have the vision be centered around, you're going to overthrow this evil warlord. Here's a little bit of information of how you're going to get there. As long as the players, because in video games, when you don't know where you're supposed to be going, it's the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
If the players know, okay, these visions have to do with this goal, even if the goal is like 3 countries away, that's our goal. We at least know what direction we're going. We'll figure out the rest of it on the way there, but let's keep going. If you give them a bunch of stuff that is immediately relevant, but they don't know what the end goal is, that is going to be it might be interesting for the moment.
Sure.
But then it's like, okay, well, now what?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They always got to have leads.
Yeah.
It's like if there's no lead, then they might not do anything.
Like kind of like with video games again, if you look at it, pretty much every modern game, you've got your quest log or whatever.
Right.
Your main quest is right up at the top.
Yeah. Which, I mean, plenty of people are like, well, that's just handholdy.
Yeah,
but it's better to get your hand held and play a game than not play a game.
Exactly. All the people that say like, oh, back in my day, we didn't need all that.
Yeah.
Yeah, but back in your day, games sucked.
Well,
no, I mean, like, there were some great games.
Well, yeah.
But
and a lot of it was like you had
3 games.
You had 3 games, and you were not an adult, so you had plenty of free time.
Yes.
I don't know if you knew this, but when you're a child, you have so much free time.
You had 3 games and 5 time.
Yeah, exactly. That's so many more times than games.
Yes.
So like you would spend a whole weekend playing a game, and yeah, you were lost the whole time, but that's all you had to do. That's all you had to do. Like, you go outside. Are you kidding me?
Like, I understand the joy that comes from finding something out on your own.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
Right.
There are some great times that we have had, like when we're playing Dark Souls 3 when it first came out. You and Steve came over.
Yeah.
We figured out one of like the biggest mysteries in the game completely on our own. And that was so cool.
Yeah.
That being said, if like another month had gone by and we still hadn't figured it out, I would have just looked it up online.
Yeah.
It's not worth it.
Yeah, like at that point, the frustration of not knowing is more than the satisfaction of figuring out yourself.
Right.
And like in this day and age and at our age, it's like I just don't have time. I don't have time to spend as much, do as much work to figure this one thing out. I'd rather just look it up.
When it's a video game and you can play it on your own time, that's one thing. When you get one chance to play and it's when you can coordinate 5 people's schedules once a month.
Yeah.
Just let me get through this game.
Yeah.
I don't want to spend the whole session sitting there trying to figure out where we're supposed to go.
Yeah. Yeah, because people are still going to have a good time because you're all playing a game together and stuff like that. So.
And I hope it doesn't come off as me saying like, oh, if you want to figure it out on your own, get out of here. No, I'm not trying to say anybody else's way to play is wrong. It's just like me personally.
Yeah.
I would rather have an easier game than a harder game.
Yeah. That's true.
Maybe sometimes my opinion will change, but when I'm planning something out, I generally aim for easier so that we can get through the game.
Right.
If you need to make it harder later on, if you need to take away some of that stuff, fine, you can do it.
Yeah, there's only going to be so much time in a session.
Right.
Might as well just get into the meat and potatoes of the adventure. So, So better more information than not enough.
Yeah. And try to always have the end goal be visible so that the players know where they're going.
Yeah.
Even if they have to do a ton of work to get there, let them know where the end goal is.
Yeah.
And I like when visions and divinations and such are more vague and or possibly misleading.
Sure.
Throw out some superfluous details that you don't know the meaning of yet.
Yeah.
You'll come up with a meaning later.
Right.
All right. So I think that'll do it for our regular questions for this week. We do still have our social media questions. Last week's question was, animal companions in your games. Do you ever use them? Why or why not? I believe my answer was I don't use them very often because I don't like animals getting hurt.
Mm-hmm.
I have used them in, small amounts, but
Right.
not a ton.
Back in 3rd edition, I played plenty of like rangers and druids and stuff. So I've had a lot of animal companions. I think I had one. There was one point where I think was I a gnome or something? I don't know. I might have done a riding dog situation.
Maybe.
And then I think there was a time where it was an elf druid that had like a wolf named Tiger.
Okay.
I
don't remember that.
I thought it was funny. I think like I don't know. So and then like familiars are a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
Familiars are a little bit different, but
I'm more open with familiars because they are explicitly magical.
sure. Yeah, and I think the way that the spell and stuff describes it, it's like if they die, you just summon them back. They're not dying; they're being sent back to where they were, and now you summon them again.
Also, in 3rd edition, like they had half your hit points. I know that you only had half a hit point to begin with, but they, it was harder to kill a rat familiar than it was to kill an actual rat. They could take a hit, and then you could put them in your pocket and run away or something.
I think like in 2nd edition, if you lost your familiar, you like
lost a level or something
like that. Like you would like lose abilities. Your stats would go down permanently.
I think in 3rd edition, if your familiar died, you lost hit points permanently.
Yeah, it was.
If I'm not mistaken,
I was like, it's so nasty.
Yeah,
like,
but so generally speaking, I don't really use. Yeah, I just. No, I don't want to hurt animals. I don't want my animals to be hurt. We got some responses from our listeners. We got a few responses on Facebook. Sean M. says, I have a small goat for my half-orc barbarian. It was meant to be a tiny mount for her, but my game master didn't want that. So she's a flavor-only companion carried around like a pocket dog. And then I think Sean said that they don't really bring her out in play so that she doesn't become a target, which I can definitely understand.
Sure. Yeah. So never in combat, just for fun.
Right. Steve A. says, they're not particularly important to me personally, but I can understand the appeal. My girlfriend is one of the players and she loves animals. Early in the campaign, she asked if there was a pet store in town. A few yes-ands later, and she had a chubby chipmunk named Hector who wears a rodent-sized top hat.
All right.
Since she is a swashbuckler, I later had a local lord gift her a parrot who is adept at repeating rude or insulting words and phrases. She named him Pete. And let me just say that I am a huge fan of animals with human names.
Sure.
Like chipmunk named Hector.
Right. That's really good.
I'm on board.
Yeah, absolutely.
Laura P., who I don't think has ever responded to this before, says, all of my characters either have an animal companion or are an animal.
Oh, sure.
So, okay. There you go. Colin W. says, I haven't played a character with one yet, but I really want to have a giant anteater.
Ooh.
I have also never played with a giant anteater before.
Yeah.
Just got one over on Reddit. Pruno says, one animal companion or familiar is fine. Give the DM another way to hurt the players.
Oh, no.
Nobody likes it when the druid keeps summoning 8 constrictor snakes. Nobody likes stopping the game to set up more creatures to keep track of and have a million attack rolls. That was definitely a problem. I don't even think you were playing with us yet, but when Jay, Steve, and Jamie and I first started DMing, Jamie was a druid that had he would just summon everything. And then for a person who barely knew how to DM to begin with, there were just so many attack rolls being thrown everywhere.
Right, yeah.
Over on Twitter, I don't think we got any, but on Discord, we got a couple. E. Thompson says, we currently do not, but would love to. I remember playing a ranger in 3E or 3.5E, and it was the best part of the class. Role-playing is fun, plus badass to have a hawk swoop down and kill your foes.
Right.
There you go. Especially because you could get some pretty powerful, especially as a druid, you could get a dire wolf pretty early on.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty cool stuff. And then Stiltskin Kupo 84 says, I always use them in campaigns lacking a full group of players. Full group in quotation marks. My wife and daughter have a campaign started where they each have a familiar, and if they ever play again, they both will have a Warforged bodyguard as well.
Ooh.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Got Jeff's attention.
Wait, they're not animal companions. That's just
that's just people.
Yeah.
But then Stiltskin Kupo 84 said, the familiars are a baby phoenix and a squirtle.
Aw.
One Warforged would be a defender tank. The other would be a leader healer. So, I mean, that's gearing up to be a full party right there.
Right.
Debrasor says, one time I had the characters face a pack of wolves at low level, and then after they massacred the lot, they found out it was just a family protecting their cubs. Now heartbroken, the character Tash took the last surviving cub and raised it. I gave it the stats of a dog, fitting because Tash also named it Dog, but the adventurers decide it was safe to take along with them. They were correct, and Dog had saved them numerous times by the time they retired. There you go. Jason says, yes, in my current game, my wife's hunter has a giant river otter animal companion that we named Squeaks. I, as the DM, generally roleplay Squeak's interactions outside of combat. She gave him the curious trait, so I often have him get into trouble or discover something if the party is stuck on what to do next.
Oh, that's a good idea.
That is a really good idea.
Yeah.
Having the animal companion, if the party doesn't know what to do, like do something in character to get them in the right direction.
Sure.
So that was the social media question for last week. This week's question is, how do you feel about D&D or tabletop gaming as it appears in media? So we're talking like, I got the idea for this because Stranger Things, is popular.
Right.
The kids in that play D&D.
Right.
Like Freaks and Geeks had a D&D episode.
Yeah.
Community had a D&D episode that was pretty good.
Right.
What are how do you like how it appears in media, or how like the like role player character is portrayed and such?
Sure. Yeah. Like, a lot of times it can be kind of cringy or something like that. It's like, or it's just like, it's just a little over the top with the nerdiness, or
Sure.
like it even plays into the whole thing with like the demonic worship stuff. Like, sometimes it goes a little too far in that direction or something. So like I haven't seen it done super duper well, although like I can't say like I haven't watched too much of Stranger Things, but I like, other than them getting a few details wrong, which is always going to happen.
My biggest complaint about Stranger Things
is it's
the Demogorgon.
Right.
Demogorgon is a person's name.
Right.
It isn't you are not the Jeff. Right. I suppose you could be the Jeff, but you're Jeff.
Right.
Demogorgon is a demon prince named Demogorgon.
Right. Well,
the Demogorgon.
Yeah, so anyway. there's always some little thing that's off.
Very minor thing to complain about. I understand.
Right. Well, maybe if they were playing first edition or something, maybe in first edition it wasn't.
I still think
Demogorgon.
I don't know.
Anyway,
I mean they were playing an earlier edition because it takes place in the 80s.
Yeah. So yeah, like it's not it's not always portrayed perfectly.
Sure. Again, I know that's a very dumb thing to complain about. That's how pedantic I get.
Yeah. But yeah, other times it's like, it's always like, the kids in the basement drinking the Mountain Dew and wearing cloaks with like candles and stuff.
Anytime someone's wearing a freaking costume,
it's okay. You know, like, hey, I dress up at Ren Fair.
That's different though. But that's like even people that don't play D&D are there in costume,
right? It's like I'm not like
I know, and there are people that dress up and such,
right?
Shaking my fist at these supposed people. So I don't know. I love that it is in media more.
Sure.
The more it is in media, I am happy, regardless of pretty much how it is, as long as it's not portrayed as being bad.
Yeah.
There was recently like a little Twitter feud or whatever. There was like some bodybuilder that posted like, I don't play Dungeons and Dragons. And then some other bodybuilder was like, I do. And then other ones are like, I do too. So do I.
Right.
And I like that whole thing has become, if the original tweet or whatever was just by itself and was in earnest, I hate the nerdy stereotype because there is so much that is not D&D that is so much nerdier than D&D.
Absolutely.
Fantasy football is the nerdiest thing ever.
It's fantasy sports is so nerdy.
Yeah. But anyway, I like that it is getting more exposure. I like that more people are getting into it, even if people are just more aware of what it is.
Yeah.
That's a plus for all of us, I think.
Right.
So hoping to see what some other people think and go from there. All right. Well, that'll do it for our questions for this week. But before we close out, let's wind down. Let's take a deep breath. A deep yawn there from Jeff.
Sorry.
That's all right. Let's remember those who have come before us and who have maybe given their lives to make the world a better place. Maybe been attacked on social media for playing D&D or something. I don't know. Let's remember all those people as we toss another log onto the funeral pyre. This week's funeral pyre was submitted by Dustin, who actually won the Chapel on the Cliffs earlier. Cool. Congratulations again, Dustin. Today's funeral pyre, it was submitted by Dustin via email, and it goes as follows. I have a character for the funeral pyre. My first character ever was a half-elf, half-dragon sorcerer named Rocknathal. He was studying magic under a powerful forest druid. It was a justification for having meta-magic feats. Oh. As one of his trials, he was sent to face the beast of the forest. To aid in his quest, his mentor gave him a dragon-hide cloak of protection. Ooh. Upon entering the forest, he realized the beast in question was a dragon, and the cloak he was wearing was made from its child. Oh. He managed to parley with the dragon. In return for his life, he was to leave the cloak and kill his master. Knowing the power of his master, he refused. Ooh. The ensuing duel was brutal, and he got the dragon down below half health before a misstep allowed the dragon a straight shot between the trees. This ended my first character ever. Oh, I mean, says Dustin.
That's a cool way to go, though.
That is a cool way to go. I also question why the DM gave them a cloak made from the child of the dragon. Whatever. I don't know. I wonder what the DM, where they planned on that going.
Right. Yeah.
But I guess let's raise a glass in memory of Rocknathal, who reminds us dragon skin is murder. Clink. All right, so that'll do it for today. To submit questions for us to discuss, items for the Dragon's Hoard, or stories for a funeral pyre, please email us at interpartyconflict@gmail.com. For show notes, links to media mentioned on the show, and running lists of questions and magic items, go to interpartyconflict.com. Join the discussion on social media. Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/interpartyconflict, on Reddit at r/interpartyconflict, on our Interparty Discord, or on Twitter at InPartyConflict for our weekly social media questions. Your answers might end up on the show. Find us on iTunes, Google Play Music, Stitcher, YouTube, anywhere you download podcasts. Please rate, review, subscribe, or just tell a friend. If you'd like to support the show, check out the rewards at patreon.com/interpartyconflict. There's a few different tiers, so anything you can spare, even $1 a month, would go towards making the show better, and you'll get bonus content for it. Jeff, tell us about FriendQuest.
FriendQuest is our YouTube channel where we play video games.
Yes. Speaking of which, check out my side project, the Arcade Memories Podcast. If you'd like to submit your own childhood memories of going to the arcade, record them or write them to me at arcadememoriespodcast@gmail.com. Also, head over to bit.ly/interpartyconflict to take a short survey about our show, what you like, what you don't like, etc. And just for taking it, you'll get 2 free printable board games, courtesy of Mary and Tom over at hollandspiel.com. And our music is made by Boxcat Games from Nameless the Hacker's RPG. So, Jeff, until next time...
Wait, I'm getting a premonition. It's the end of the episode.
Oh, no!